I am Scott Rush, here with Addie Beplate, the president of ASEOU. Good morning, Addie. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you? I'm happy to be here.
I am fantastic. And from what I've heard, it's your birthday, so happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Yes, it's my birthday. I'm 22, so I'm excited about it.
That is fantastic. Well, what we're doing is we're reinstituting EOU, which is EO with a YOU. This is a voice for the students to get them to hear from student government, from staff members, and like president of the university and stuff like that. And our first set of questions that we have are pretty much from us, but we're going to open it up to eventually students to be able to email questions in and all that stuff. To be able to provide them with an access to be able to talk to you guys a little bit more, because as we know, we're all busy here on campus sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
And everybody's running around, and it's sometimes hard to peg people down.
Being a student's a full-time job. Participating outside of that, I think, is amazing. So a lot of students have the opportunity. I commend you for that, and I think it's a great idea.
And we couldn't pick a more better day for this.
It's beautiful, so thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. Well, let's get right into this. You're starting your final term as ASEOU president.
Yes.
How do you feel the years went?
You know, I think it was an interesting year. We had kind of a young group, so a lot of people who had never done student government at ASEOU per se, and we had a lot of change. We left OSA, we've had to take things on kind of ourselves. Obviously, I think when you do any job, at the end of it, you're going to look back and say, oh my gosh, I wish I could have done that differently. Absolutely, but I think it was a really great year to see different people step up. I know I had a great year, and I think that the things I did, I wouldn't do differently per se as far as like personal experiences, but it was an interesting year. I think student government, you're always going to be criticized for the things you do and the things you don't do, but I know that my group has tried to represent the school to the best of our ability and just stay engaged and do what we can. So,
as far as accomplishments for ASEOU this year, what are some of the major accomplishments that you guys have been able to do?
I think two really come to mind. I think that you can take us leaving OSA however you want to take it, but I think it was the first time that EOU has stepped up and said this isn't working for us. Maybe we'll join them again in the future, but students coming together and making an autonomous decision to just leave for something that was becoming more expensive and wasn't necessarily working for our group, I think that's a big decision. I think that's the first time that organization has realized, hey, what can we do to better serve students? And then I think, I'm really going to commend Tessa Ortman, who is our director for political affairs, for having you and a bunch of other students go to the Capitol, and we had the biggest turnout at Higher Ed Day. And that was amazing to see so many Eastern students represented in the Capitol, to engage with legislators. That's something I'm really proud of, and it wasn't even my project.
I think that went very, very well. Is there anything that you would like to highlight that ASEOU is currently working on?
Yes, I think that the big conversation currently going on is about tuition setting for next year. We did have 2 forums last week, and we had the President Insco and Vice President Laura Moore come to our past 2 ASEOU meetings to just kind of get the word out and notify students about this is why we will be increasing tuition for next year. I think so many students at our school don't realize that tuition changes year to year depending on costs associated with the university. And so I think that's a big project that we're trying to inform students about. We're also, with the political campaign going on for the United States, we're trying to work on educating students about why it's important to vote. And so that's something you will see this term as well.
Fair enough. You stated several times throughout the year that you would like to raise awareness about sexual assault on campus.
Yes.
And that accomplishing that would be a legacy that you would like to leave behind.
Yes.
You've been collaborating with Director of Student Relations, Colleen Dunn.
Casio.
Casio. Where are you on this project?
So currently, Colleen and I met last week, and we were talking about policy for the school, because our school has different protocols and policy for sexual assault and what happens after that gets reported. And that was something that we wanted to take on this year, but that is something that is going to be worked on next year. So many things have happened with policy changes at our school this year, but currently this term I am working with Chris Burford as well to work on updating other policies at our school. So Colleen is very much keeping me in the conversation, and I'm trying to do what I can to still raise awareness, but that's something that my successor is going to have to take on too, and so that conversation is going to have to happen at some point.
Back at the beginning of the school year, back in September, we had the school shooting at Temecula Community College.
Umpqua, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has that affected our student government? Have we brought more awareness to our emergency action plans here on campus?
So I think that what happened at UCC has kind of sparked a statewide response from all of the universities and especially the community colleges. Back when we were at Higher Ed Day, and before that actually, I had testified that it's so important when these things happen to really reevaluate what happens with campus security and how we respond and how we can help the community heal. My sister had a school shooting at her university, her freshman year in college, and so it wasn't the first time that I had been exposed to that experience, but I think it sparked a statewide conversation, and it also, just at our university, we have a security management team that is assessing why our school is safe and why our school is not safe, and they're currently at work on that. Someone from ASEOU serves on that team, and so they're trying to figure out how to have the relationship with the police department. We've had the police department come to our meetings and talk to us about if we can do training. It's kind of a complicated thing because
right.
Sometimes if you do the training, the shooter or somebody who would be interested in that could be in the training. And campuses are a huge space to try to incorporate any type of training. It definitely has risks, and so it's an interesting conversation. I definitely don't think it's over, but I'm glad that all the schools in Oregon are waking up and saying, "Hey, we need to focus on this."
I did notice this weekend that the Grand Police did a kind of a trial run or a practice exercise of an active shooter at the high school with nobody there, and so it's nice to see that they're actually doing that in the community because and unfortunately we're in the day and time where these things do happen.
They do.
And we can't just push them off into a corner and think that they may not happen here, because once it happened in the state, it became very, very real.
Absolutely, they can happen anywhere. I think that's the message people need to take from this. This can happen anywhere. It can happen in any community, and I do think LeGrand has a great relationship with our police department. I think our school has a great relationship with our police department, and so them doing that is amazing.
You mentioned in several you have mentioned in several board of trustee meetings that you're concerned with shared governance and time commitment.
Yes.
Well, what do you see as a solution?
So I had mentioned that I just don't really think some of the meeting times work well for students. We have a full-time job being students, as I mentioned before, and some of these meetings are in class time, and that's a concern. And so we've tried having ASEOU meetings at a time that works better for students so they can come and get involved in our end of things. I would absolutely like to see some faculty or more administrators come to our meetings because I think that solves some of the problem on their end of things, but most of them are parents too. They have another job and they leave work. So CSI has created a calendar, and I mentioned to I think University Council and Faculty Senate that a school-wide calendar is something we need. We haven't had one ever in the past, and they're taking that project on. So hopefully that provides more information of when things are going on, how to get engaged, what this meeting is about. We need more of an online presence to inform these students of things because that's the way our world is trending.
As far as having more staff members and more faculty there, what about more student involvement?
Yes.
How can we get more students to come in and listen to these and see exactly how student government works?
I really do want students to come to our meetings, absolutely. But I think it's a twofold thing. I think that it's definitely on our shoulders to better give that message out to students of what we're talking about when we're meeting, what type of events we do. But also, students need to know that these things are important, and if they have interest in this, some students don't, but if they have interest in this, that it's on them to come, because absolutely you make your own college experience.
Some students feel that, and again, this isn't a knock on you, it's just
No.
a general statement. Some students feel that ASEOU is not that important.
Yes.
And what can be done to change this?
I don't think I realized how important ASEOU is until I was in ASEOU. Some students didn't have any experience with student government at the high school level. I think students should know that ASEOU is as important as the people in ASEOU make it. But we do have so much power at different committee meetings, and we're the only voice of students at those meetings. And ASEOU technically doesn't just mean student government. ASEOU is the entire student body.
So how could we improve involvement? I mean, what ideas are out there to maybe get not just student government, but student involvement more highlighted, to get more students involved in not just activities, but about the love for the university and what they're doing here?
I think that's where the conversation is at now. We have this time and time again, just how do we engage students? How do we make them have some EOU pride? And I think that the students need to find what meshes for them, specifically what is a way for them to have passion for this university. Whether or not that's student government or sports or ESE or CSI or the radio, but I think that when KUOL approached ASEOU and said, how would you like to feel and come and talk to our radio? Those are important conversations because it allows two different groups on school to interact. And I don't think that's happened in the past where, hey, you're a different student leadership group. Let's meet up and do something.
And honestly, I think some more of the clubs and other activities out there could benefit from that. The cross sectionality and everything else, and an age of diversity, I think is very, very important. What activities does ASEOU have planned for the spring?
So we do have a lot going on in the spring. Spring kind of gets crazy because it's all of us wrapping up our jobs. Something that we do have going on is the elections for the next ASEOU opened last week, and so a lot of our focus is on that. We are involved with the other spring activities that other groups are putting on, but we are still considering having another forum about tuition. I think that's important, and just getting more engaged as to, as I mentioned, the elections and other things like that.
Speaking of the elections, what words of advice would you give the next ASEOU president?
I think I would have to be honest with the person and say it is the most amazing experience that I've ever had, and it will be what you make it. But it also opens up you to be criticized and opens you up to have everyone focus their spotlight on you, and you're the face of the student body. So anytime something goes wrong, they can put it on your shoulders, and that's a heavy burden and that's a heavy responsibility. But at the same time, you get to wake up every day and have students want you to voice their concerns, and that's a really powerful thing. So embrace that power, and have it be something that changes their life.
What do you feel can be done to help transition freshmen and transfer students to EOU?
I'm a transfer student myself. I think that we're trying really hard to get more first-time freshmen here, and I met with Tim Seidel and 2 other ASEOU members and try to get them to speak to what would work best for first-time freshmen to come here and have it engage them. And a lot of the people don't realize that there's so much you can actually do at Eastern Oregon, and so I think first-time freshmen really come for the fun and experience. And I think the outdoor program should be recognized for taking students to Moab for spring break. So many schools don't get to do that. Eastern does. And I think for transfer students, there's so many different faces of the transfer student. It can be somebody that's coming back to college after they're 20 years away from higher education, or it can be somebody that went to college and their first school wasn't the right fit for them. And so I think our school is really commendable for having so many partnerships with different community colleges to get their classroom and classes to mesh well and transfer over correctly. But for the other students that are the transfer student, finding something that makes EOU feel like home and different messages for that student, I think are important.
And one final question,
Yeah.
As your term winds down and all that, what is going to be the best memory you're going to take away from this whole experience?
Wow, I need to think about that. I think, actually I know what it's going to be. So when I first came back, I'm the only one in ASU who gets to work over the summer, and so I was working over the summer, and I think I have 2. We went to a conference with the other, when we were part of OSA, all the other student governments, and I got a t-shirt from one of the other student government members, and we just became really good friends. And then when I came back for faculty convocation, all of the faculty just welcomed me in a different way, and I hadn't had that experience per se. And that was like, wow, my job's actually important, and people appreciate what I do.
Well, that about wraps up our time here on EOU this morning. Addie, thank you so much for coming in. I know this was kind of brand new for you.
Oh.
But, you know, the whole thing with doing EOU now is to get this out to the students, to be able to
Absolutely.
get a little closer to knowing who their president is and other members of student government, and not just student government, but other people on campus. And this is going to be an ongoing thing that we're going to be doing here at KOL. So, unfortunately, thank you for being the guinea pig.
I'm okay with that. You know, I think it's a very respectful thing to have this opportunity, and I'm honored that I got to be the, you know, test rat, or however you want to call it. But I had a lot of fun. Radio's really new for me, and it was awesome to actually see what you do. So thank you.
And again, happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
I hope you have a most fantastic day. So.
Thank you. I hope everyone else does too.
Thank you. This is Scott Rush with EOU, and you're listening to 91.7 LeGrand.